So, in my last BBC, I talked about the American cultural myth of the self made individual who succeeds through their effort alone and doesn't have to rely on anybody else for them to succeed, and how this myth goes against the Buddhist teachings on interdependence and the kindness of others. And while I was doing research on that myth, I came across a number of other ones that we have in American culture, and one of which was about Thanksgiving. Now, I know many of you are woke about these issues, and I thought I was too, because I had read some of these don't know much about history books and Howard Zinn books, but I don't remember reading about Thanksgiving. And it has continued to be this very like heartwarming, inspiring holiday for me. And so I was kind of shocked to read more about what actually happened. And I wanted to share that with you all. Because the fact that it was so emotionally touching showed me that a lot of what I am motivated by on a daily basis might actually be fantasy. And this reminded me of the self centered mind and self grasping ignorance, and how what I take to be obvious truth is actually the complete opposite of how things exist. And so I like deconstructing these conventional falsities as a way to get used to the idea that, at the ultimate level, things are completely different from how they appear to me. So you probably all grew up with the idea that Thanksgiving was a celebration between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans as a way to express their friendship and all the support that the Native Americans had provided to the settlers when they arrived on the shores of Plymouth Rock. But there's now a lot of information on the internet poking holes in many aspects of the story. So, first of all, Thanksgiving did not become a national holiday until 1863. And that happened because Abraham Lincoln wanted to come up with a way to unite the country in the middle of the Civil War. So he created a day of Thanksgiving. And this, at the time, had nothing to do with pilgrims and Indians. So some of the descendants of the pilgrims had started to celebrate this idea of a Thanksgiving feast in the early 1700s. And then they promoted it as a way to draw tourism to their region. But it wasn't until the late 19th century that this story about a pilgrim and Indian feast spread to the entire country. And it's very interesting how that happened. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, it's because there was a large influx of Catholics and Jews from Europe, and the white Protestant immigrants in the United States wanted to maintain their cultural superiority. So they started promoting this idea that they were the first to arrive in the New World, and the Indians handed them the land over the land. So they were the legitimate, rulers. So then, second of all, the Pilgrims were not the first Europeans to visit New England and interact with the natives living there. They first arrived in 1620, but actually Europeans had been arriving in New England since the late 1400s. And some of them actually spoke English when the Pilgrims interacted with them. And third, the Pilgrims did hold a harvest celebration in 1621, but they did not invite the Indians. And this is according to a history professor, George Washington, who wrote a book on the Thanksgiving myth called This Land is Their Land, The Wampanoag Indians, Plymouth Colony, and the Troubled History of Thanksgiving. His name is David Silverman. So during that feast, they were firing gunshots as some kind of celebration, and that attracted the Indians to come and see what was going on. So the local Wampanoag tribe showed up, about 100 members deep, and they basically wanted to show that, hey, we outnumber you, so you better keep it down. And then they just stayed. And then they had sort of like this very tenuous political alliance. The Wampanoags allied with the European settlers because they were afraid of some other tribe, the Narragansett tribe. But that sort of devolved eventually, and there was this very bloody war called the King Philip's War, in which the Europeans firmly gained dominance over that region. So needless to say, after that first feast, it did not take place on an annual basis thereafter. And then a particularly sad footnote to this Thanksgiving myth involves Squanto. So he's highlighted in Thanksgiving stories for his assistance to the pilgrims. He taught them, he translated for them, he traded with them, he taught them how to grow corn. And that's actually true, but what is not mentioned is that eventually the English captured him and sold him into slavery in Spain. And then he was able to escape, but by the time he returned to the New World, his entire tribe had died due to smallpox. So, this is quite sad stuff, but I don't. I think it's a mistake to completely throw out Thanksgiving, and we now have the opportunity to claim it as our own and sort of reinvent it. There's some very beautiful sentiments that are celebrated on Thanksgiving that really aren't featured so strongly throughout the rest of the year, like gratitude, generosity, interconnectedness, and even forgiveness. So families make an effort to see each other. If they go the whole year without seeing one another, they make an effort to reunite on Thanksgiving in recognition of the fact that human connection is actually the most important thing in life. And then people take time to pause and reflect on the abundance that they have in their life. And this is in direct contrast to the greed and discontent that is promoted by advertisers throughout the rest of the year, including the very next day. So, despite the fact that the Thanksgiving myth is not accurate, um, I think, yeah, let's hang on to it and use it to appreciate the goodness in ourselves and in others who are alive today. It doesn't have to be about these people long ago who did something kind for each other. We can, reenact that expression of kindness and friendship today and use it as a time to develop other good qualities that we cultivate in our spiritual practice, like contentment, gratitude, kindness, to recognize how we're all relying on each other to survive and to thrive, and to also make an effort to reach out to those who aren't doing so well and who need assistance. So maybe use today and future Thanksgivings as an opportunity to help deepen our spiritual practice and to create the causes and conditions for peace and harmony to thrive in the future.